SequencerTalk, and we're here right now on Superbooth 2023 with Torso Electronics. Hello. And this is Mick Mugulator, my buddy in crime for the talk. My name is Dean Freud. So hello everybody out there, and welcome to the little live show. Hopefully it works well and we can talk about the new update of the Torso Electronics T1 sequencer. There are plenty stuff, and before we start with this, how's it going? About 2 years ago, we talked with you about your first baby, and I hope it went well.
Yeah, it's going pretty good. Yeah, as you said, a lot of things happened. We launched T1 almost 2 years ago, a bit more than 2 years ago now, and I feel like now, yeah, we started out with this general idea of making an algorithmic sequencer with like a lot of generative tools, and we kind of like said, okay, we want to make something completely different from the traditional step sequencer, like flip the concept on the head. But now, 2 years later, lots of stuff has happened, and we added a lot of cool new stuff. And recently we did the 2.0 update with a lot of exciting new features.
Yeah. The biggest one is it started as a pure generative tool.
Yes.
But it went to being a real life performance tool now.
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, so I think we really started out wanting to, as Lars said, like we really started from the generative point of view. So like make like the perfect interface for making music, like for this immediacy. So you like that you should be able to like turn a knob, and then the machine should be able to give you something, and then you should be able to turn another knob, and then it gives you something completely different. And we thought that this generative approach was like really good for getting all these musical results really quickly. But then we developed it and we got it out, and we got a lot of feedback from our users. And it was really funny because like, so there's like, for example, there's a specific feature that's been there from the beginning where you can like hold the random knob. So there's this knob that adds randomness to all the other parameters. And when you hold this and turn random, there's this parameter called range that does per step pitch modulation. So when you turn that up, it just like in one turn, it gives you a melody. And it's a new one every time like you boot the sequencer. But so like then this question comes to, so like it gives you this melody, but then you're like, wait, it's like I like all these notes, but then this one particular note is like kind of off.
Yeah.
And then we was like, this is great, but like, and when we showed it to people were like, yeah, it sounds good, but like, what if you don't like the melody that it created for you? Or like, what if you don't just like wanted to change like one thing here? And then I think we came up with something pretty exciting because we really tried to like, how can we combine these two approaches? Not just like create like another layer where you can do like step sequencing, traditional step sequencing, but we wanted really to like, how can we combine these so they kind of like merge into each other? So I think we came up with something pretty unique for that as well. So with the 2.0 update for the T1, you can edit any parameter at any step. So so on top of just being able to like insert pitches as specific steps, you can also change any of the kind of generative parameters on a per step basis. So you can like control. You can both like it both adds a much deeper way of controlling. Like so you've generated a sequence, but then you can control the way that it generates over time in a much deeper way and control in a more like exact way. So like say like at this step I want it to like be very random, and at this step I want it to be like much like the same every time.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Most groove boxes and sequencers don't memorize what note was set before.
Yes.
So when you like on the electrons, you have to press. If you set a note, that step off and on again, then the note is lost and set to default. What happens with the T1?
Yeah, so that was really
the generated ones.
It was really hard to a problem. So what we did was that because we have this the way when you go into the step sequencer view, you can kind of select a step, and then you can set the you can do the edit, but then it's visualized in a different way. It turns red, but then and then you can still turn it on and off by just pressing it. But wanted it to not like forget the value that like, because if you spend a long time like programming the step,
exactly,
you don't want to lose it. So
you can so to speak prepare something that you might want to play. And that's something that's really rare in most of the sequences, except the electribes, the old ones. So this is really important, and you got it now. And it has been added recently, so it's a new feature. How does it as a developer? How does it work? Is it simply much easier to set a default than to program something, or to pre-program something? Or what's behind that?
So you mean in particular about this step editing?
Because it's so rare on almost no sequencer. Electron had added something which is there's a yellow light then.
The trickless step.
You can pre-program it, but when you once have activated it and switch it off, then it's gone. So, why? Why is it so? Is it hard to memorize that?
I think it really depends on like how you do it in the actual software. I think as like I only worked on the T1 as a programmer, so like I actually don't have like much knowledge about how other companies are doing it. But we really just like from the beginning we thought that it would be, because on the first version of the firmware we had this cycles feature, which basically is the same. It's just like on a larger time scale. So like you can say that like every full cycle of a Euclidean rhythm has a certain and the technology that we use to do that is like kind of like create this like layer on top where you kind of it's called a dictionary. It's on every step there's like this like just like this these layers where you can just insert like okay, I want this, and you can just dynamically add these and that's it. And you can and the thing is that it's not like it's different from just like saying. I think in a more traditional step sequences you would be kind of like programming the step, but this is more like something that is. It's kind of like in the same way as random modulation is added to the how we deal with random modulation. So like how randomness is added like after the step. So it kind of like it's like it goes into the random modulation after like
okay.
And then so this is the same. So it's kind of like a layer that's the step. So like you say, whether the trick should play or not, and then it goes through these like chains of so to put it simply, I think we kind of like made it as a module that
so it's more like like MIDI effects work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
per step.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's kind of exactly. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
You now can with the new update create more steps in one pattern.
Yeah,
and then you have the 16 steps or the 128 steps in
so
plus the cycles.
So it's a lot of steps because you can go up to 64 and then
exactly
and then you have 16 cycles, so it's 16 times 64 steps.
But with total. Any clock dividing
with any clock dividing
you can use
and this can be a change per step also.
Do you have something which is called ratcheting or which is
we call them repeats.
You have acceleration, so you can decide if you like to do it.
Exactly. And you can also change this per step.
So
how maybe it's interesting to the user. What is required to do that live? Press one button.
It's pretty simple. You just select the step you to edit with like the control function and select the step, and then you're inside the step, and then you can turn all the parameters and make the changes to that specific.
This mode is something that it could be comparable to the electron parameter locks.
Exactly.
And there are some other features now because it's not just this. You added MIDI CC.
Yes.
And we can come later to this. There's even our piano mode. And there is a MIDI delay function now. So you can have MIDI effects on incoming MIDI. That's one of this is quite clever on
controllers that have
14. It's 14. Yeah, it's a weird number. The reason why the 14, it's actually just like the UI because we wanted to kind of like reuse some of the ways that the knobs work in the normal note.
Two knobs are needed. So
so to be able to set the channel and also to be able to use random modulation, we decided on just using the 14 first knobs. On the left.
So 14 CC values per track. That's 16 tracks.
If you record one of these controllers, are you setting it up on the sequencer and turn it on, or do you expect it to come from MIDI and you will record it and then how does it work?
So the sequencer generates the CC. We don't have CC recording. But the sequencer, the T1 creates the CC, so you can do it in two ways. You can use it as a static kind of MIDI controller, but then you can also, if you double tap the track, you go into step editing mode. So you can set a CC per step. And you can also mix that with random modulation on every kind of CC knob. So like it will create like this pseudo random sample, like sample and hold kind of sequence on every CC.
So you can make it steppy, or
and then you can even add slew on that. It creates a slew in the CC. It's quite low resolution because we only have 7 bits, so it's like
MIDI.
It's MIDI. So like
Can you use NRPNs, or is it just
we don't have that. We don't have that at the moment. No.
No one else does too. It's just a question. So you could say create something like an LFO and put it on some CC and send it out there.
Yeah.
So it's helpful if you want to modulate your pulse width modulation.
Yeah.
So there's even the mode that you can say which MIDI CC you want on the sequencer. Is this right?
Yeah.
That's a little bit tricky to do, I think.
Yes.
I failed a little bit.
So that's one of the limitations because the T1 doesn't have a screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how do we set the CC values or the CC
the number?
Maybe display it as a step 1 to 60.
Yeah. So
maybe something.
We came up with a solution, but
we came up with a solution where you kind of dial in, you divide into hundreds, tens, and ones. It was actually something that I think Aura suggested it to us at some point, and it's doable.
It's not the most convenient,
but it's not convenient. But it can save your ass if you really in a rush and you need something. And it's good because you don't need a software for this. So it's completely independent. If something breaks with the software. Whatever, you still have the complete controller and the complete sequencer without any software if something goes wrong with your
and that was exactly the thing that we could have added it to the configuration software. But if you have a hardware set up and you have everything going, and then I want to change the CC number, and then you would have to plug it into your laptop somewhere, and so it's more convenient to in the box.
And some users have actually said have been like, "Wow, that's so that was so easy to do," and I was like, "I don't know," but it definitely there's a way.
Right. So and then there's the piano mode. So you have now a keyboard directly, but it's just for playing, not for recording.
Yeah. So it's kind of like at the moment we have like this way where you can we call it FX mode, and this is where you can use either the onboard keyboard on the T1 that only has 1 octave, so it's quite limited, but you can also connect an external MIDI keyboard and then play notes from there, and then we go into all tracks that are in FX mode, and there you can kind of just like completely change what you're playing. So like you can change the voicing, you can move the chord, like create new voicings of the chords that you're playing. You can also do this really cool thing. So like if you have programmed a sequence that you like in the regular kind of note mode, then if you take the track and put it into FX mode, then it will only trigger when you hold down a key on the keyboard, and it will even so if you have pitches in your sequence, you can even harmonize them. So like if you hold
transpose and harmonize,
and harmonize. So like if you just have a monophonic kind of sequence going, if you hold a chord on your keyboard, it will play the sequence in time with everything. So like if you have like it will.
And if you have a set scaling, it will adapt it to the scaling.
Yes.
So it's a bit like an arpeggiator, but like way more advanced and complex. And it's really nice for like if you're a keyboard player and want to like ornament your keyboard playing. It's like you can make some really interesting things. Yeah,
it's also still running through
all of the algorithms.
MIDI effects kind of things. So you might have anything from delay to maybe something like an arpeggiator and stuff like that.
It can even like transpose, like have a chord sequence. So you just hold one note and then it just like creates this like entire thing. So like
I tried it more than once, and it's a really cool tool. That's a funny thing about the T1. It's not the standard for everybody who's watching this for the first time, so or doesn't know the T1. The T1 is not the standard step-by-step XX sequencer. It's more a generative tool to get crazy stuff out of it. And yeah, I think it's more a sequencer to play without thinking about it.
We see it a lot like an instrument.
Yes.
Where with a lot of other sequencers, it's a tool that you program, but this is more like an organic, like conversation with the instrument, and
we also have talked a lot about like this way of being like making music kind of because a lot of music making, especially like beat-oriented electronic music, like you work as like in a very like producer kind of workflow, where you kind of like program your sequences, you start and stop them, make some changes, and then like record some stuff.
If you're on stage, you can save one bar or two bars, and then you can think what you can do next. Things like that. I think.
With the T1, you can like in a matter of seconds, like completely change everything.
Do you have something that could be activated at one point, just as a performance, maybe from this to this step, or just switch some steps on and off, and put in some crazy stuff like everything?
There's a mode for temporary, and you can hold it or make it hold. With control and a temp, and then switch back. Release the temporary, and you can switch it back.
Goes back to normal.
And that's really good for making build-ups or breaks and all of that, and like plan mutes or unmutes, and make really cool transitions that way.
What do you think about these other new style of sequences? They are sort of doing more stuff like you did, but you were quite first, like the WHAAAT or the Oxy one, stuff like that, all adding new modes that look like what, but in sometimes differently set up or differently operated.
I think it's great to see that other companies are following up on this idea, or that this kind of way of sequencing that we love and think has a huge potential. I think also that it's I think like I still believe that we like our vision is kind of like this very like instrumenty, like this. It's really to our core, and I think it's great to see that there are other sequencers that are more like made for like being this like full-blown sequencer where you can do like pretty much anything you want, and that they also like are like picking up on these features. I think that's great. I think we will keep on doing our
just ask right into the blue, because I really love this little thing on the old Electribes. It's a ribbon and a slider, and it's they call it an arpeggiator, and actually it's something like a note input where you can set the pitch on one thing and the speed, so it's sort of repeat. I think, do you have something which is sort of similar that you can trigger somewhere and then automatically play something like a mixture of this piano mode and this so
I think with the new
trigger mode or something,
with the new effects mode, you can do exactly that, where you play hands-on, trigger a note on the keyboard or the T1, and then you can
turn the knob
and like
you're playing,
change the speed, and like, so it's a really organic way of.
We also one thing that we didn't mention yet is that we added the this free we call it free division, but it's this free clock mode. So you basically leave the grid, the quantized grid, and then you're just able to like freely set the clock rate, like very similar to like how you would see it
on
on your
node, or for the whole
For the whole
for the
track.
track, for the track. So you can also like make two tracks that are slightly out of sync, and then like create like these phasing sequences. You can also make them insanely slow. Like they could go like it can go really really low clock rate.
He's laughing, so he knows.
The good thing is that you can really combine straight things with different clock rates, with different step lengths on every cycle, not just every track. You can use it on every cycle. So you have a track. With, I say, 4 cycles. You have one cycle with 16 or 6 steps or 5, 6, whatever. And then the other ones, and this is something that gets really freaking wild. If you like to do some IDM stuff and wild industrial stuff, that's a really really cool thing, especially for drums and stuff.
And I think that's exactly where like T1 stands out. Where you mentioned before, we see new sequencers adding generative elements and modes, but the approach on the T1 is like everything is intertwined. So when we add a new feature, then it's like it fits into the whole this thing, and you can like, and then a lot of times we are ourselves like, okay, we have this feature, we have an idea of like how it can be used, but then it's like, okay, wow, so step edits can be used in combination with effects mode and all of this, like
Are you planning something like a deluxe version or something like another approach of the say a T2 or something?
Nothing in the works right now. But we, of course, we are talking about stuff, but nothing in development now. No.
The T1000.
Yeah, exactly.
And it can be fluidly something. Let's talk about the things we didn't mention, maybe, or something. What is something you are proud of to tell for Superbooth to have it here, or to have it released? Is there something?
Yeah, so we announced we were celebrating our 2-year birthday this spring, and we for that we came up with a new color for the sequencer, and we are really proud of this, how it looks.
A white version of the T1, and it looks amazing.
Looks really slick.
Yes. We brought it at here, so if anybody is watching and want to have a look, they can come by our booth.
And one thing I will say is the T1 is freaking built like a tank, because you can really go on war with it. It's I was quite shocked as I received mine, and it's thick metal. It's not just 1 or 2 millimeters.
3 millimeters.
And it's quite hefty on this side.
Yeah, there's a funny story to that. There was one of our customers who I think it was like in the very early.
One of the early first customers.
They like he dropped the T1 on the floor and was like, "Oh no!"
He damaged his floor.
Yeah, the T1, you couldn't see a thing, but it made a dent in the floor. Yeah.
Okay.
So you should be prepared. It's non-destructible.
Nice. Is there one thing is not so quite common these days, but you have it, Ableton Link. And I know it took you some really effort to get it and get it really stable and all the clock stuff. And I noticed now it's really, really good. So it's quite good if you are in the studio, and I have a Force, like some people here know, and this is on this side on the studio, and you can jam on the completely other side, and it gives some freedom, I think, for me. In the studio, it's quite practical.
And it took some time. We worked with some of the developers from Ableton and made some contributions to the official Ableton link repositories, and Matthias did all the work.
We had to because Ableton Link was made to run on computers, and also and I think that's. And also, it can run on like single board computers like Raspberry Pi. There's a few modules out there, and some gear that puts a Raspberry Pi in there. I think we wanted. I was like when I first discovered Ableton Link, I was like, wow, this is amazing, because I think one of the things that has been like our dreams with starting this company also is to be able to like make music a collaborative thing, like a collaborative practice, so that people can like make it easier for people to jam together. And I think Ableton Link is a huge contribution to that. So we really just wanted it, and we just put a chip with Wi-Fi in, and we're just like, okay, we hope it's going to work out, and it did. It took some time. It took some time. It took a long time.
How big is it these days?
The chip that we're using is like it's like this.
Like a post stamp.
Post stamp.
I can switch a camera and you can show it.
So it's like this size, and it has a Wi-Fi antenna on board as well. So that's really impressive. Yeah.
So. What was the biggest thing about the Ableton Link to implement? Because you said it's not meant to do it on a standalone machine.
Yeah. So
this way.
Yeah. So actually, when we started working on the project, there was. It was actually not possible to do it with Ableton Link, because it really depends on some infrastructure that is only available on computers as network infrastructure. And this suddenly out of nowhere, I was like sitting one afternoon looking at my computer, checking out the GitHub of the development of the system that we're using for the T1, and suddenly I just saw that this framework was added. And I was like, okay, now it's possible. And then we tried, and there was a lot of things that didn't work. And then it took a very long time. And then we finally got something working, and then we sent it to Ableton. And then they were like, okay, this is great. They changed it a lot. And then they went back to us and was like, this can work like this. And then now it's publicly available for anyone else who wants to use use Ableton Link on the platform that we're using. So that was really difficult. It's also really difficult to then turn that into like something that can work really tight with MIDI clock, and then an analog clock as well. That was a huge engineering challenge working with clock signals.
Yeah, because it does the conversion between
the T1 does conversion between both Ableton Link, like vice versa, actually, between Ableton Link and MIDI clock and analog clock sync. So
what's inside it for the nerds?
It's the ESP32, it's called.
Okay.
It's a very common platform. For use for making all sorts of like DIY electronics. It's great. We love the chip. Yeah, it's really push it hard also to like fit all the things that we want in it. But it's a really cool chip.
And you really got a supply.
Yeah,
that's the biggest question in the last few years now.
Yeah, it's still an issue, but we managed to come around it. Yeah,
and I think you could still hold the price. I think more or less.
Yes. Yeah. So production prices are rising, but we try to keep the same price. Yeah.
That's really completely different now compared to 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Throw everything completely under the bus, and I saw some projects going under because of it. I think we're done for our first talk, and
Yes, it was
it's
so nice.
really, really great to have you.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been really good to see you guys again.
Do you have already some impression of the Superbooth? It just has started, so I don't know. Have you ever left your booth, or is it just...
We've just been around quickly, catching the vibe. I think it's great. The weather is really nice, and
lots of interesting stuff.
Lots of interesting stuff. Yeah. We're excited to see more. I only really had a brief look on everything, but I'm excited to dig in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will be really fun. Yes.
So happy you have stopped by, because it was really hard to set up stuff like that, and for you, and so it's good to have you here, and maybe there will be a next time, maybe.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
That's the reason why we do this here, to meet friends, to meet other brands and stuff. So hopefully we will see you next year with the new product. Yes. You told me already something, but I can't say anything. If you want to say something,
something is coming. We can't say anything right now, but it's something completely. It's not a sequencer. It's something completely else. Yeah.
Normally, if you did something, you don't do the same thing again, like Ace of Base or something.
Yeah. We want to explore new things. Yeah. But hopefully we will be able to announce it soon, and we'll see.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Then a big thank you to you and to the other guys. And this was the first live stream and recording for Superbooth on our synth talk show, and there is the new synthesizer magazine.
Yeah, we just it's German, so we planned something, but it will take some time.
Yeah. So goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
So that's the thing we do.
Oh, yeah.